Blackboard and I are old friends, so we can talk about Blackboard. All right. Anyway, this is what we're doing today. This was in the description. And I'm going to talk a little bit about their QM and their rubric. But I think that one of the reasons I like QM is because they do use best practices. It's based on research. It's been around a long time. And they really are all about student learning. Okay? And they started in 2003. And their overriding question was, how do they measure the quality of a course and hopefully guarantee it, okay? And that's how they came up with this rubric, they call it. And also a peer review process where they train faculty. They set up this process where faculty review courses, and that's what Augie said. I had done 36, but I just started my 40th this week, so I've seen a lot of online courses from schools all over the country. So, and it really does vary. And then once they go through this process, they either get certified or they have things that they need to work on to improve to get certified. So also as part of this overview, I really like to communicate my high expectations. Get it? High. Okay, for what they're going to be doing, but also for things like email, okay? Because it's online and this is the way we're communicating. We rely on, electronic communication. In fact, a lot of my students don't even know that email stands for electronic mail. So I give them a little sample, and obviously this is a little bit small to read. I tell them how to set it up because they either are now or hopefully will become business professionals. I want them to send business professional emails, okay? So I said, a greeting, your message, sign your name. And my favorite thing, my mother used to always say, hey is for horses. One of my pet peeves is getting an email that says, hey. I don't start a professional email with hey. I don't want them to do that either. So, laying out your expectations is really important when you start your course. Okay, now, standard 2, learning objectives. And these are really key to developing your course and keeping everything on track. And simply put, they describe what you want your learners to be able to do. And Quality Matters looks at course objectives and then module objectives, okay? For some of us, the course objectives are dictated, okay? But if you're designing your class and you break it into modules, and I want to say module, not chapters, okay? I learned that lesson early on. This is an aside. My son's a lawyer now, so this is a sidebar. I used to design my courses with chapters, but then what happens when you switch text? You have to start over. So modules that are more topic-oriented are a little bit easier. But since you're doing that, for the most part, you have control over those objectives if you don't have control over your course objectives. They need to describe outcomes that are measurable. This is key. You need to be able to measure what you're saying you want your students to do. Standard 3, assessment and measurement. Who knows what that is? It's a cake tester. Do we have any bakers in here? The little yellow thing? Okay, that's why that's there as tester. Yeah. All right, so we're not just testing, we're assessing, we're measuring, but we need to try to make sure that our assessments measure the achievement of the objectives, okay? We don't want to create these fabulous assessments if they're not aligned to and measuring what we say our objectives are, okay? All right, so we're already on standard 4, which is instructional materials, okay? And again, you need to think about what materials are going to help your learners learn or achieve your objectives. We keep going back to the objectives, okay? So for example, textbook. I do use a text, but as Augie mentioned, for this particular class, I'm using an open source book, which has worked out really well. Students like it, it's free, and it's online. And I thought I might get a lot of pushback about students saying that they wanted a paper version, but and that is available if they want. But most of them are pretty happy with the online book, especially since it's free. So, but I still have them read it, so that's a material. I do provide a lot of handouts because, you know, I'm a teacher, been a teacher for a long time, can't get away from the paper. Although these are electronic, but as you see, I have my trusty paper ones like I used to in my face-to-face classes. And then videos, you know, I try to find good videos, okay? And let me just put a little caveat in there. I don't think it's a good idea to throw a lot of materials out there just because, oh, that looks cool or that's fun. You really got to think about, is this going to help them achieve that objective? Are they going to learn something? Because you don't want to waste their time. That's another thing, you know. When they log into Blackboard, they want to be able to see what they have to do and do it and not, you know, get bogged down and, oh, you know, well, that was dumb. So I try to keep the videos pretty short, under 15 minutes for sure. Okay, 15. I mean, think about how long is a YouTube video? Yeah, right, 5 at most, maybe, right? So, you know, that's what they're conditioned for these days, sadly. So if you're putting stuff up there that's 30 minutes, even though, you know, it's something you recorded or you recorded yourself doing a lecture, either chunk it in pieces or kind of rethink and come up with something shorter. General Standard 5, learning activities and learner interaction. Okay, so I don't know if you can see this, but just like we don't want that situation there. Can you see the guy with his head down in class? Of course, in my face-to-face classes, I never would have allowed that. In fact, I used to say in my syllabus, if you're too tired to stay awake, don't come to class, because nothing, that just annoyed me. But anyway, we don't want that in a face-to-face class, right? But we don't want this in an online class, okay? We don't want the students being so bored, either listening to something or, you know, reading it, whatever, that they fall asleep, okay? So Quality Matters emphasizes activities, active learning, and interaction. So when we talk about learner to instructor interaction, it's important to students that I give them feedback, okay? That I acknowledge their name, that I respond to their emails and questions, that I give them feedback on their discussions, you know, not just graded, but a few comments. And I keep them pretty short, but you'd really be surprised how much it means to them. I get evaluation comments a lot, and you know, they say, you know, she gives good feedback. I appreciated it. It made me feel like I was there. It made me feel like, you know, she was trying to encourage me, all that kind of stuff. So it's really important to give the feedback, but also to let your students know when you're going to give their feedback. And then we have our technologies, okay? And again, we don't want to use technology just for the sake of using technology, okay? Because they're going to see right through that. We want to use ones that support the achievement of course objectives. And Econ actually has a lot of fun things, believe it or not. Econ can be fun. This is a website I like to use where it's interactive. They manipulate the graphs, okay? So I like to find websites that are good. Obviously, we talked about movies. This is Adobe Connect, what I was talking about I use to do recorded lectures. And I also use Adobe Presenter, and there are other technologies that you can do this with, where I do like a video or something, but then I have interactive questions, and they have to answer that question in order to continue with the video. And you can do it for a grade. It can be an assignment. It can just be like a participation grade, that kind of thing. So I have this handout for you, and this one, Aisha, again, one of the designers here, did this one at a conference, but it's 10 technology tools, and I haven't tried them all, but I have tried some of them. But they're kind of nifty. Again, you don't want to do technology for the sake of doing it, but you do want to include it, especially with today's students, because, you know, they're so technology savvy for the most part, and they enjoy it. Okay, just two more. Standard 7, learner support. And this talks about all of the services that the university provides for the students to help them succeed. And I think they aren't even always aware of what's out there for them. So in my Start Here information and in my syllabus, I go through some of the different things like technology help desk, like accessibility, okay, and where they can find information about that, library services, all those kinds of things. And that leads to Standard 8, which is about accessibility and usability, okay? And Quality Matters in this most recent review update, which was 2018, so the one we're looking at now is pretty current, really expanded the accessibility standards, okay? So courses that in the past may have met the standards now will probably have to update and really take a look at some of these.